Good morning, everyone. Okay, today we're going to read chapter 34. We're a little bit more than halfway through the book, so I hope you guys are enjoying this. All right, chapter 34, Birth of a Star. Keisha, Albert, and I walked to Albert's after school. Keisha and I asked if we could come over and see his house. He shrugged and said, okay. The whole time my hand is in my pocket, holding on to that piece of paper. Possible. Albert's house is big but dark and dusty when we enter. There are piles of things everywhere. Not papers like our house. I mean piles of things, with tubes and wires, things I don't recognize. His mom greets us. Hey, Albert, you have guests. Her tone tells me that this never happens. Yes, I do. These are my friends Keisha Almond and Allie Nickerson. Allie and Keisha, this is my mother, Audrey Dubois, he says, waving at each of us, and she comes over and shakes our hands. Can I get you anything to eat? She asks, sounding nervous. Albert pauses. No, thank you. We'll just go upstairs. His mom says okay, as we are already following him up a skinny, twisty staircase. What kind of host, Keisha begins, doesn't allow his guests to have food? Dang it, Albert, I wouldn't have minded some. It wouldn't be logical to offer you something that doesn't exist. But she offered it to us, Keisha says. He opens his backpack and begins stacking his books on his desk like a pyramid. I can assure you that the refrigerator is quite empty. In fact, it hasn't been plugged in for a week. Oh, Keisha says, her voice getting quiet. I'm sorry, Albert. I really am. Now I know why my mom's voice sounded funny when she offered. Now I know why his mom's voice sounded funny when she offered, and why he eats so much at school. Yeah, me too, I add. He turns around, surprised. Why? Keisha scrunches up her face, the look she gets when she really can't figure him out. Well, I say, because you don't have food, or a refrigerator. It must be terrible to be hungry and not be able to eat, and it's probably embarrassing for you. Maybe. I think it would be for me, I guess. He tilts his head. Filling in the refrigerator does not fall within the parameters of my responsibilities. Therefore, the lack of food therein would have no reflection upon me whatsoever. We are silenced. I don't know about Keisha, but I couldn't answer that for $1,000,000. From the looks of her, I don't think she can either. I finally lift my gaze from his face to look around his room. Just a bed, a desk, and an empty trash can. The carpet and his blankets are all dark green, but his walls have colorful posters, all science-related. There is one I think that I like the most, a picture of outer space, but with every color you can think of, all swirled together with an orange glow off to the side. It's beautiful. I point at it. Albert, what is that? That is the birth of a star, the single most important thing that can happen in space. Well, the single most positive thing, anyway. It's beautiful, I say. He stares at it. Indeed it is, he says, sitting down at his desk. Keisha laughs. You are going to be a star one day, Albert. You'll do something amazing. I don't like, and he shifts in his seat. I don't wish to be in the limelight. Limelight? I ask. I don't like a lot of attention. Well, you better get used to it, Albert, Keisha says, because there is no way on God's green earth that you won't have boatloads of it when you go out and cure cancer or discover another planet or something. That's my hope. I want to change the world, do something good. And then, all of a sudden, I feel sad as Keisha goes on about how famous Albert will be, how he'll be written about in history books and stuff. Hey, Keisha says, poking me, why so serious over there? I'm thinking about all the things Albert and Keisha will do, and how I can't read. I can't tell them that, so I try to sound happier. I'm not that serious. Oh, yes, you are, dead serious. You need to smile. I am smiling, I say. Well, someone better tell your face about it. I hesitate. Can I tell you both a secret? I ask, reaching into my pocket to touch the possible paper that I've carried since I got it. Yeah, of course. And you won't tell anyone? Yes, now that's what the secret won't... I lost my spot. Yes. Now, what's the secret you won't tell anybody because that's the definition of a secret? Albert is quiet, but his head is tilted to the side. I I have never told anyone this, but I have a lot of trouble in school with reading and writing, and well, everything but math and art. Keisha laughs. That's not a secret. And then I feel terrible. I feel my eyes beginning to sting. I start walking away, but she pulls my sleeve and pulls me back, and Albert looks upset. No, that's not what I mean. I mean that we know that, but it doesn't matter to us. However, Albert says, I do wish it was easier for you. We will not share your secret. Mr. Daniel says I have something called dyslexia, which makes it hard to read letters. That's why I've been staying after school, so he can help me. Keisha is wide-eyed. Extra school after school? That's terrible. I mean terrible. I want to tell her I'd spend the night at school hanging upside down in the closet if I could just read. I don't mind. He's nice to help me. And we'll help you, Albert says. But I worry that maybe we can't help you. Or that you can't help me, I say. And then I mumble. It makes me feel like I'll grow up to be a nobody. How can you say that? Keisha asks. Well, you'll probably have some big successful baking company, and Albert will do whatever in the world Albert will do, and I'm just hoping to read a menu in a restaurant. Keisha steps up and puts her arm around my shoulder. You say he's going to help you, right? You say, Albert adds and then pauses to think, that you'll grow up to be nobody, but logically, if nobody's perfect, well then you must be perfect. Perfect? Me? No, I say. You are pretty perfect, Allie, Keisha says, laughing. Do like Mr. Daniel says. Be yourself. Be who you are. You know, Albert says, I've wondered about that saying, and I can't ever find an answer anywhere on the internet. What do you mean? I ask. Be yourself. You always hear that. So, Keisha asks. Well, Albert begins. What if you don't know who you are? I get what he means, I think. People ask you what you want to be when you grow up. I know what kind of grown-up I want to be, but I don't know who I am now. Albert stretches his legs out. There are always people ready to tell you who you are, like a nerd or a jerk or a wimp. I think it's how it's hard not to believe the bad stuff. Look at it this way, Albert. If you had to be, says Albert, if you had to be in a tank of water with a killer whale or a stonefish, which would you choose? Well, duh. Who's going to choose a killer whale? Well, in the wild, killer whales never attack people. Like, never. A stonefish is way more dangerous with its 13 venomous spines. It's the words. If the killer whale were called the friendly whale, no one would be scared. And I think of words, the power they have, how they can be waved around like a wand, sometimes for good, like how Mr. Daniel uses them. How he makes kids like me and Oliver feel better about ourselves, and how words can also be used for bad, to hurt. My grandpa used to say to be careful with eggs and words, because neither can never be fixed. The older I get, the more I realize how smart my grandpa was. All right, so that's the end of chapter 34. So two things we're going to talk about. One, the setting has changed in this story. So write me a sentence and tell me how the setting has changed. Where are they now? And think about Albert's home life. So we now realize that his house is full of clutter stuff. Some people might call that hoarding, which means keeping things you don't need. There's no food in his fridge. His fridge isn't even plugged in. So what does that mean for Albert? And how is he dealing with all this? Does it bother him at all? So that's the first thing. Jot some notes down about that. The second thing is, in this chapter, we heard the phrase, be yourself. And Albert makes a very good point. When you're young, you don't always know who you are or what you exactly feel all the time. It's something new for you guys. Sometimes you have an idea of what you want to be when you grow up, and you have an idea of how you should act with that, but it's not always how it's happening right now for you. So be yourself. Think about that phrase. You don't have to write anything, but think about that phrase. How can you be yourself right now? You don't have to write that, but it's just something to think about. So jot down your notes about the setting and about how Albert is kind of dealing with his life that we're learning a little bit more about. All right. Talk to you later. Bye.